Welcome to Apex Philosophy, the perfect place to find motivation. Be sure to subscribe and listen every day so you can become your best self. Please like and share the video to help inspire others. Today, we are finishing our three-part series on the Enchiridion, or the Manual by EPICTETUS. This is the third and final part of this series. If you missed part 1 or 2, I encourage you to go back and listen to them as well. Today, we will finish the book by reading chapters 33 through 51. The Enchiridion, or the Manual by EPICTETUS, paraphrased by Stephen Shade. Chapter 33. Start setting some standards for your behaviour and attitude, and live this way in all situations, so you can maintain it both when you're alone and when you're with others. Do not speak, or only speak when necessary. And when necessary, keep it brief. However, we can occasionally engage in conversation when the situation calls for it. But let's not talk about trivial subjects like gladiator fights, horse races, athletic champions, food or drink. Things that are commonly discussed but not important. Also, let's not talk about people in a way that involves criticism, praise, or comparison. If you're able, steer the conversation towards more meaningful topics when you're with others. If you're with strangers, just stay quiet. Don't laugh loudly or excessively. Avoid taking oaths altogether if possible, or at least as much as you can. Stay away from vulgar or public entertainment, and if you must attend, stay focused to avoid sliding into vulgarity. Remember, even if you are pure, if you associate with someone who is corrupted, you are at risk of being corrupted as well. Take care of your basic needs, such as food, drink, clothing, and shelter, and avoid extravagance and luxury. Before getting married, do your best to avoid engaging in sexual activity with anyone outside of marriage. However, don't be harsh or judgmental to those who do, and avoid constantly boasting about your own choices in this matter. If someone tells you that someone else has spoken poorly of you, don't try to justify their words. Instead, say, they must not have known about my other flaws. Otherwise, they would have mentioned those too. It's not necessary for you to attend many public events, but if you do go to one, don't show more interest in anyone else than yourself. Just wish for things to be fair and the best person to win. This way, you won't have any problems. Also, avoid cheering or booing and getting too excited. When you leave, don't talk a lot about what happened and what does not contribute towards your own improvement, because it makes it seem like you were overly impressed by the event. Avoid attending private recitations unless necessary, but if you do attend, maintain a serious and dignified demeanour without being unpleasant. When you need to discuss something with someone, especially someone who seems to have more authority than you, imagine how Socrates or Zeno would handle the situation, and you'll know exactly how to handle whatever comes your way. Imagine that when you are presenting yourself to someone in a position of authority, they may not be available to see you. You may be denied access, or they may not pay attention to you. It is your responsibility to go through with it. Accept whatever happens, and don't think to yourself, it wasn't worth it. This kind of thinking is rude, and shows that you are easily swayed by external circumstances. In a professional setting, it's important to avoid talking excessively about your own accomplishments or problems. While it may be satisfying to talk about your own experiences, others may not find it as enjoyable to listen to. Additionally, trying too hard to be funny can lead to tasteless or inappropriate humour, which can damage your reputation and relationships. Avoid engaging in inappropriate or offensive conversation as well. If you find yourself in a situation where someone is speaking in this manner, use the opportunity to show disapproval of them, or, at the very least, show your disapproval through silence, blushing, and serious demeanour. Chapter 34. If you're tempted by the prospect of any pleasure, be careful not to let it deceive you. Take your time and think about it before making a decision. Consider both the moment when you'll enjoy the pleasure and the moment when you'll regret it after the fact. On the other hand, think about how proud you'll be of yourself for resisting temptation. Although it may seem like a pleasurable experience, be careful not to be swayed by its lure and temptations. Instead, balance the temptation with the pride you feel for resisting it. Remember that it is much more rewarding to feel victorious and in control than to give in. Chapter 35. If you believe that something should be done and make a clear decision to do it, don't be afraid to be seen doing it, even if others misunderstand your actions. If what you're doing is not right, avoid doing it altogether. If it is right, don't let those who unjustly criticise you hold you back. Chapter 36. In a disjunctive argument, the proposition either it is day or it is night is very powerful, but in a conjunctive statement, it has no power at all. Similarly, at a feast, choosing the largest share is very appealing to one's physical appetite, but it goes against the social atmosphere of the event. When eating with others, consider not only the physical benefits of the food, but also the value of being polite towards your host. Chapter 37. If you have taken on a role that you are not capable of handling, you have not only dishonoured yourself, but you have also given up on something that you may have been more suited for. Chapter 38. When you're walking, you take care not to step on a nail or twist your ankle. So you should also take care not to harm the decision-making ability of your own mind. If we constantly protect against this in everything we do, we'll be able to take wiser actions. Chapter 39. Everyone's possessions should be relative to their means, just like a shoe should fit the foot. If you stick within these limits, you will maintain a healthy balance. However, if you go beyond these limits, you'll end up falling into a bottomless pit. Just like a shoe that starts off fitting the foot, but becomes unnecessarily extravagant, like being covered in gold or jewels. There is no end to excess once it surpasses the appropriate amount. Chapter 40. Women as young as 14 are often impressed by rich men who only refer to them as mistresses. As a result, they start to focus on their appearance and try to become attractive in order to get those men's attention. It's important to make sure that these women understand that they are truly valued for their beauty and modesty, rather than just being seen as objects for men's pleasure. Chapter 41. It shows a lack of intelligence to focus too much on physical activities, like excessive exercise, eating, drinking, or other basic bodily functions. These should be done in moderation, and our main energy should be directed toward our intellect. Chapter 42. When someone does or says something hurtful to you, remember that they are acting based on their own beliefs and perceptions. It is not possible for them to adhere to what seems right to you, but only what seems right to them. If their beliefs are based on false assumptions, they are the ones who are hurt, because they are being deceived. If someone takes a true statement to be false, it is not the statement that is hurt, but the person. who is deceived. So if you keep these principles in mind, you will be able to calmly endure someone who insults you, because you can say to yourself, that's just how it appeared to them. Chapter 43. Everything has two ways of being approached or handled. One way that allows it to be dealt with effectively, and another way that makes it impossible to handle. If your brother is acting unfairly, don't try to deal with the situation by focusing on the fact that he is being unjust, because that will make it impossible to solve. Instead, try to approach it by considering that he is your brother and that you were raised together. This will allow you to handle the situation in a way that is more effective. Chapter 44. These statements don't make sense. I am richer than you, so I am better than you. I am more eloquent than you, so I am better than you. The real logical connection is I am richer than you, so I have more possessions than you. I am more eloquent than you, so my way of speaking is better than yours. But you, after all, are not your property or your speech. You are much, much more. Chapter 45. Does anyone take a quick shower? Don't say they are doing it wrong, but instead that they are doing it quickly. Does anyone drink a lot of wine? Don't say they are wrong, but that they drink a lot. Because unless you fully understand their reasons, how would you know if they are doing something wrong? This way, you won't blindly accept appearances without understanding the context. Chapter 46. Don't brag about being a philosopher, or talk too much about your beliefs to those who don't understand them. Instead, show them through your actions. For example, at a social gathering, don't lecture others on how to behave. Just behave how you think is right. Remember that Socrates also avoided showing off, and when people asked him to introduce them to other philosophers, he did so without seeking recognition. If there is any disagreement or debate about ideas among those who are not well informed, it is best to stay quiet most of the time. It is risky to present incomplete or poorly thought out ideas. If someone accuses you of not knowing anything and you remain calm, you can be sure that you are making progress in your learning. Just like sheep don't throw up their food to show the shepherd how much they have eaten, but rather turn it into wool and milk through digestion. Do not show off your principles to the ignorant, but rather the actions that result from fully understanding and internalizing them. Chapter 47. When you have learned to eat and drink modestly, do not boast about it, or constantly announce to others that you are drinking water. Instead, think about how much more frugal and tolerant of hardship the poor are compared to us. If you want to train yourself to endure hard work and privation, do not try to do extreme things just for yourself. Instead, when you are thirsty, rinse your mouth with water and do not tell anyone. Chapter 48. A vulgar person is someone who only looks to external factors to help or harm, while a philosopher looks to themselves for all help or harm. A proficient person does not criticize, praise, blame, or accuse anyone, and does not talk about themselves as important or knowledgeable. If they are hindered or restrained, they blame themselves, and if they are praised, they secretly find amusement in the person praising them. If they are criticised, they do not defend themselves. But he goes about with the caution of a convalescent, careful of interference with anything that he is doing well, but not yet quite secure. He restrains desire. He transfers his aversion to those things which only thwart the proper use of our own will. He employs his energies modestly in all directions. If he appears stupid or ignorant, he does not care. And, in a word, he keeps watch over himself as over an enemy, and one in ambush. But he acts cautiously, like someone recovering from an illness, being careful not to disturb anything that is functioning well, but not yet fully stable. He controls his desires. He directs his dislike towards things that obstruct the proper use of his free will. He uses his energy moderately in all areas. If he seems foolish or ignorant, he doesn't care. And, in short, he watches over himself as if he were his own worst enemy. Chapter 49. If someone brags about being able to understand and interpret the writings of Chrysippus, remember that they only have something to be proud of because Chrysippus wrote in a way that is difficult to understand. However, your goal should not be to understand Chrysippus, but to understand nature and follow it. You should only seek out Chrysippus because he is known for interpreting nature. If you do not understand his writings, then seek an interpreter. When you find someone to interpret them for you, the most important thing is to focus on the ideas in the text, not the translation itself. Otherwise, you just become a grammar nerd instead of a philosopher. If someone asks me to interpret something for them, I feel embarrassed if I can't explain the ideas being discussed therein. Chapter 50. Follow the rules you have set for yourself as if they were laws and it would be wrong to break them. Don't worry about what others say about you because it doesn't matter. It's time to start improving yourself and always follow the guidance of reason. You have learned the principles of philosophy, so there is no reason to wait any longer to start making positive changes in your life. You are no longer a child, but an adult. If you are careless, lazy, and always procrastinating, you will never accomplish anything and will remain ignorant. It's time to start living like a grown adult and strive for excellence. When faced with challenges, remember that it is your chance to prove yourself, and that one failure or victory can make a big difference. Socrates became great by constantly improving himself and following reason. While you may not be a Socrates yet, you should strive to live like one who wants to be the next Socrates. Chapter 51. The most important part of philosophy is how to apply principles in real life, such as not lying. The second important part is understanding why it is wrong to lie. The third part is how to logically connect and support these two first parts through understanding concepts like demonstration, consequence, contradiction, truth, and falsehood. However, we often prioritise the third and neglect the first. So, while we may still lie, we can easily explain why lying is wrong through demonstration. In every circumstance, we should hold these maxims ready to hand. Lead me, O Zeus, and thou, O Destiny. Wherever you bid me go, I follow cheerfully. And if I refuse, I make myself miserable, and still I must follow. And also, whoso nobly yields unto fate is wise among men, and understands the laws of heaven. And finally, O Crito, if so it pleases the gods, so let it be. Anytus and Meletus may kill me indeed, but they cannot hurt me. Thank you for listening. Look for parts 1 and 2. Comment below, what was your favourite chapter and why? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.